Hi there, Dave here from Quality Yorkshire Homes in Wakefield, West Yorkshire. We specialise in building, buying, refurbing and reletting properties. Quality Yorkshire Homes for quality Yorkshire people. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here to give you some tips on decision making in both your personal and your professional life, and hopefully you'll get something from that. I'm going to do it very quickly, and we're going to do it in the format of a book. So let's start off with the title of the book. And the book is called ABC, Aid to Making Good Decisions. Okay, it's the ABC of making good decisions. Chapter 1. Let's get straight into it. A. Assume nothing. We all make assumptions. We all walk into rooms. How many times have you walked into a room and looked at someone and thought, oh, he looks a bit dodgy, or I don't like the look of her, or we've all got this thing built into us heads. We can't help it. It just happens. There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody does it. When I was a kid, I used to wear leopard skin trousers, torn t-shirts. I rubbed mud in my face. I came from a middle class family. I rubbed mud in my face. Dyed my hair red, wore earrings, and obviously I walked around pretending to be a punk. And I often wonder what people thought of me then, and how people probably thought I was never going to get anywhere or do anything. But I ended up with 31 years hard graft, and I think I've been a useful member of society so far. I'm certainly doing my best. So, if you put this into a business contact about how you might make assumptions, we buy houses all the time, and we invariably buy older houses. And we almost always get given a piece of paper that says, oh, there's a guarantee on the damp course. So you assume that there's no damp for a start off, you assume it's been properly treated, and you assume there's a proper business behind that guarantee. Totally wrong. I've learnt whilst I've been in business, first of all, every old house has damp. No matter how much you spend on it, it's almost impossible to get rid of. So if you put a damp meter on the wall, you'll find something. Secondly, the companies are right into their guarantees, lots of wriggle room. So if there's a company that does exist, the chances are they'll wriggle out of putting any remedial work right. Thirdly, half the time the job's not done properly, and quite often the business that installed the damp course doesn't exist anymore, because in 5 years' time a lot happens in building. So what can we do then? What can we actually do that help us to stop making assumptions, or at least make educated assumptions? Well, I've got this is called the list of likes. So what you should do, if you're going to make a decision, get a piece of paper, divide it down the middle. On this side, write down what you know, fact, right? Not what you think or what somebody's told you, what you actually know about this decision. And on this side, what you would like to know in an ideal situation. And this side, you'll get a load of questions that you can't answer, but there'll be one or two that you can. And those one or two questions that you can answer will enable you to make an educated assumption as opposed to just a carte blanche assumption. In other words, it enables you to risk assess that assumption. So, assume nothing, chapter 1. Let's move on to chapter 2. Oh, you can applaud now. Chapter 2, believe no one. Right, I am not saying that everybody you will come across in life is a liar. I am not saying that all the professionals you deal with are liars. It's just that people have their own angle of perception about particular things. People see things from a different point of view. If ever you deal with someone who starts a sentence with apparently, or what's the other one? Oh yeah, oh, I've heard, right? If ever you deal with someone who starts sentences using those phrases, warning, danger, danger. I've got a very good friend who openly admits he uses apparently all the time, apparently. But he openly admits that he uses apparently because he doesn't know the actual facts. And what he tends to do is fill things in. So he knows he's making stuff up because he thinks it's what I want to hear. He thinks it makes a good story. So be very careful with those two things. But people want to be helpful. People tell you things because they want you to be happy. I firmly believe in Father Christmas, and I firmly believe in the Easter Bunny. Why? Because my mum and dad told me that, because they wanted me to be a happy kid. But actually, it's an out-and-out lie. And similarly, professionally, I've been told, let me think. Oh, yeah. Ooh, Mr. Oldroyd, we can complete that contract in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's a good one. This house only needs a light refurb. And, oh, yeah, this house is ready to move into. All sorts of things that people tell you, and quite often you'll find that they've never even been to that house. They're just judging things by photographs, but they're telling you things that they want you to hear. The worst thing I've ever been told is by a solicitor who has said to me that in a house contract there's always a sanity clause. But everyone knows there ain't no sanity clause. Couldn't resist that one, sorry. So, what can we do about believing people or not believing people? Is we've got the triangle of truth here, and this is worth looking at. So first of all, what's the motive of the person that's talking to you? If they're trying to sell you something or get something off you, then the motivation is slightly different to someone who perhaps you're paying as a professional to give you a professional opinion. So know the motive of the person that's actually trying to talk to you, and better equipped to judge what they're saying. Fact check everything. 5 minutes on the phone to get a second opinion, on Google to check something out, in a magazine article just to check some facts out can make a huge difference and can enable you to establish, again, risk assess whether that person is telling you not lies, but if they're giving you the whole story, and that's really important. And finally, have a look for yourself. If they're saying this house has got no damp and they're guaranteeing that the house has got no damp, take the damp meter and stick it in the bloody wall and make sure for yourself. Have a look for yourself. Chapter 3 then. Check everything. Check everything. Well, you know, actually the reality is you can't check everything. But everything, really, they say the devil is in the detail. So you need to be able to looking at ways of making sure you're not just firing headlong into projects or decisions without being able to check stuff. You will have heard the saying, one person's blood is another man's poison. And that speaks for itself. I look out the window today and I see a basket full of flowers. You might look out of my window and say, bloody hell, that fella's a crap gardener, they look like weeds. It's how people see things, and it's how people perceive a task or information should be done. I learnt very early on some really good lessons when I was working in my previous employment. And I learnt very early on that you can give a task to someone and they'll never do it exactly as you want it. And 9 times out of 10 they'll do it better or differently, or they'll put a sway on it which works really well, but they'll never do it exactly as you want it. And the other thing I've learned early on is you can delegate the task, but you cannot delegate the responsibility. So yes, you can ask somebody to find your information, you can ask somebody to do a job for you, but the responsibility always falls on you to check. As the business owner or the head of the family or the leader of whatever, it's down on you the responsibility to check up on things. Let me give you some examples of checking up and how impactful it can be in a business situation. Bought a house, nice little house, bang next door to it, part of the deal was a scabby little garage, okay, falling down. Decided wanted to build where the garage was, and I realised I could probably get another house on there, so I went to see the solicitors and I said, hey up fellas, right, or ladies, can't remember to be honest with you, I want to build here. They said, oh no you can't, there's a covenant on the property which means you can't actually build in this position. So I got the papers, I wasn't happy, I got the papers from them, I got the papers from the land registry, and I looked at it and I read it myself, and I established actually that covenant didn't apply to that piece of land I wanted to build on. The net result is I've built an house. They agreed with me in the end, but if I hadn't checked that detail, then we'd have ended up missing out on a great business opportunity. So check everything. So what can we do about it then? Basically, there's an easy way of checking up on things. You can't actually be on top of every single job, so get your systems and processes in place. Have a method in place that when you're giving somebody a job, you're giving them clear instructions. Have a method in place that you're giving them checks and balances along the way to come back to you, so you can check up, you can have a quick look at stuff, and you can take it back to detail. We have a folder full of process maps, so if I want somebody to find a tenant, I can give them a piece of paper which clearly shows them the stages to go through if I want a new tenant. I can also put an extra bit in that says when you get to decision making, come back to me and I'll double check it. So systems and processes enable you to check things, put checks and balances in, put reviews in, put test dates, put due by dates in, and always work to a system and processes when you're checking things. The second thing is know the person you're dealing with. I'll bet you know people, right, who if you ask them to do something, will do it to the nth degree, will do everything perfectly, and it'll be done absolutely beautifully, but bang down the lines exactly to the rules. Well, you know if you give that person a task, you don't need to check up or you don't need to check as much. But you'll also know people, no names mentioned, who will go at a task like a bull at a gate, and if a problem appears in front of them, they will literally barge straight through it. And obviously with those people, they're not necessarily wrong, but you do need to keep an eye on them. I need to check they're doing what we think they're doing. And the final thing is legwork. At the end of the day, you can delegate the task, but not the responsibility. So in decision making, when it says check everything, get off your fat ass, have a walk down to the site and check up on what's going on. Put your damp meter on the wall, test the wall, go and speak to someone and get the detail, because at the end of the day, you cannot delegate the responsibility for checking up. So this is the circle of system, and that's the end of the book. Thanks very much for listening. We just moved back to the title of the book, Aid to Making Good Decisions. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, send me some positive feedback. There's at least 4 of you going to watch this, I'm sure, but send me some positive feedback. And if I get the positive feedback, I have an idea to do something around a much more holistic decision-making model and do it just as quickly. If you didn't like it, you know, don't bother sending it back. Anyway, keep watching and we'll see what we can do with the rest of this decision model. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend. Next weekend's going to be warm, so I probably won't be doing a broadcast next weekend. I'll be in the back garden with a barbecue. See you later. All the best.